My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. This is the only channel dedicated to UFC fight picks and DraftKings lineups run by MMA insiders and professional fighters. Every week, I join Dan Kramer and Nick Newell, two longtime professional fighters that have fought at the highest levels on the planet, as well as Jacob Lyons, a skinny kid from Indiana. So join us every single week for our full fight card breakdowns, our individual fight card breakdowns, our betting guide, and our DraftKings lineups. Next up at UFC Vegas 26, we have Phil Hawes versus Kyle Daukaus. This, to me, is honestly the most interesting fight on the entire card. This one is so tricky. So we have Phil Hawes, ridiculous, phenomenal wrestler who has sort of very similar to Tyron Woodley, right? Phenomenal wrestler, a ton of power. Except unlike Tyron Woodley, he has like no gas whatsoever. He has like a round and a half. He has like 7.5 minutes of cardio and gas. Where
Me
Kyle
too.
Daukaus, what'd you say?
No, I said me too.
Yeah.
It's about 7.5.
Yeah, I bet. Kyle Daukaus, I mean, just look at the pictures. Kyle Daukaus is not physically imposing, not fast, has particularly...
He looks like he's trying to look like
frumpy. Yeah.
Right. Yes, frumpy is the word. He doesn't look like that in his fight. I mean, his fights, he looks, like that is just a bad picture. He needs to update that.
He just actually put one 9 hours ago in his new Venom kit. He looks great.
Okay, so
like
we're just using old graphics.
60-year-old female social studies teacher. I don't even know what's going on there. But he doesn't look like that in his fights.
No, but he's not particularly fast. He doesn't have incredible power, but he does have solid fight IQ. He's very well-rounded, and his jiu-jitsu is tricky, like tricky. So this fight is super interesting because Phil Hawes could just starch him with that crazy knockout power, could blow right through him with a blast double and just pound on him, or Daukaus could weather the storm, wear him out, submit him no problem in the second round, third round. Dan, you laughed at me. Why? And what are your thoughts?
I was just thinking of what sort of bet we could make on over-under of how many times you say interesting and tricky throughout a podcast. I guarantee you that it would be, what would the number be, Jacob, for an over-under?
I don't know, but maybe Monkey Knife will make it a more or less.
More or less.
37.5.
I'm going more on both, no matter what, even if you know it's coming.
All right, well, let's turn it into a drinking game. Anybody out there who has the time, tally it up. We'll turn it into a drinking game, and we'll take shots together on the live stream.
Oh,
Dan, what are your actual thoughts on the fight instead of criticizing me and my hosting abilities?
I think it's very interesting and tricky. That's for starters. No, I think, well, here I go. I'm going to say it is interesting and tricky. Now, I think Phil Hawes is like you said, he's got the power edge. I think he's got the striking edge, but he doesn't have it for long because his cardio, I mean, especially in this sort of fight, if he doesn't get a finish early, his cardio is going to be tested. With that being said, there is a pretty good chance he could get a finish early. Like, he is an explosive, powerful striker. He's extremely fast. And it's not like he's going to go out and get taken down right out of the gates because he's got D1 level wrestling. He's a JUCO national champion. So wrestling wise, like, if this were a 2-minute or, whatever, 3-minute wrestling match, I'd take Phil Hawes, but it's a 15-minute fight. So that changes everything as you get into the second and third round. So, Daukaus, on the other hand, too, he's got good wrestling, probably not near as good as Phil Hawes on paper. Striking, he's definitely a little bit behind Hawes, but he's just game. He's down to go 3 rounds. Even in his Brendan Allen fight where he got beat up for 2 rounds, that third round, he almost made a comeback and stole the fight. So he's one of those guys that if you don't get him out of there early, he's not going away. And he's going to be in your face, just scrapping till the bitter end. So in a coin flip type decision, I'm thinking I'm going to take Hawes here, just with being the more athletic, more powerful guy. But again, if it goes to the later rounds, I could see Daukaus kind of just exposing him and beating him up a little bit. So my pick's Hawes. but I hope he gets an early stoppage. I'm not touching this for DraftKings. And Monkey Knife Fights, I'm going over under.
It's tricky. So you're going more
or less. I'm going higher and lower. Higher and lower. Up and down.
I'm going increase, decrease.
Above
I
and
think
below.
I agree with pretty much all of that. I just, this is tricky. I advise everybody to stay away from this. Monkey Knife Fight is the only one I would do with this because, again, you triple your money. So there is some margin for error. And if you use promo code WWP in your first deposit, they will instantly match up to $100 that you can play. You deposit 100, you have 200 5 seconds later. With that being said, I think I'm definitely going Phil Hawes. And I think it's just tricky to say, okay, Phil Hawes is the better striker. Phil Hawes is the better athlete. Phil Hawes hits harder. Phil Hawes is the better wrestler. Daukaus has better cardio and better jiu-jitsu. Okay, we're 4 against 2. And cardio and jiu-jitsu are very important. And if he gasses at the end of the first, and if he gasses halfway through the second, that's a lot of time to make a mistake and get caught in a submission. I'm just hoping that 12 fights into his career, cardio issues are very hard to fix. So I'm actually not going to say he fixes cardio. That cardio issues, like some people literally can never fix that. And other people, it takes 10 years to fix your cardio. Like he'd literally have to lose muscle mass. So I don't think his cardio is going to be fixed, but I'm hoping his fight IQ gets better where, okay, he's going to come out a little slower and reserve some of that energy. Or if he does get exhausted, don't wrestle. Don't wrestle, because that's when you're going to get in trouble. If he's exhausted and he has no energy left and he wrestles and he ends up on the ground, that's the only place I see him being in trouble. So if he's exhausted and he keeps it standing, he'll be fine. And I'm hoping he's at a good camp. Like he's doing all the right things. He has a good record. This guy can legitimately, if he makes those small changes, be like a Tyron Woodley. I'm going with Hawes here. I think he can make the small adjustments. And by small adjustments, I mean, when he's exhausted, don't commit to wrestling. Don't put yourself in Daukaus's world, which is on the ground. Jacob, you're grabbing your hat. You're doing ridiculous things. Your beard was redder than ever. So why don't you walk through why you think I'm wrong and what you think?
If I did that stupid counting with my fingers 4-2, you guys would have ripped me to shreds. Oh, he's got this, and 4 is more than 2, so that means he's gonna win the fight.
As soon as he says, like, this is Jacob math going on.
Oh my god, I would have been ripped to shreds.
The only problem is on your 2, you had cardio on there, and if that goes away, the other 4 don't mean anything.
Right. Crazy. So what's gonna happen is Phil Hawes is gonna get tired and he's gonna get choked out. Kyle Daukaus, his loss against Brendan Allen, and I think we're all speak very highly about Brendan Allen for his grappling abilities. That was a short notice UFC debut, and he actually outstruck Allen, and he had 3 takedowns versus Allen. Allen had no takedowns. He had 3 takedowns versus Allen. Outstruck him. So I going back, I got to remember how he even lost that fight because he outstruck him by like 30 strikes. I know he got beat up early, but it's crazy. I just
got out grappled in the first 2 rounds. But that's a good point because you're reminding me that he took that short notice.
Right. UFC debut, short notice. I think it was like a week short notice, and it still went 3 rounds and didn't look terrible for a UFC debut against a very good fighter. We think, Brandon Allen is a very, very good fighter. So I think that he just gets in a situation where, and you said I would stay away from this DraftKings. I think one of these fighters should be in everyone's lineup. I think you have to decide on which one you like more, because if Phil Hall wins, it's going to be a lot of points. And if Kyle Daukaus wins, I also think it's going to be a lot of points. So I think it's one of those things that you have to decide which one you like. And one of these people have to be in your lineup because it's going to be a first round finish, a ton of points for Phil Hawes, or Kyle Daukaus is going to scramble, get all those advanced, all those reverses and maybe choke him out late with a late finish. So I have Kyle Daukaus in my lineup and I have him winning the fight.
Jacob, so that depends on, in my opinion, whether you're doing a cash game, like single entry cash game, right? Or a multi-entry big tournament, right? Like if you're doing a multi-entry big tournament, yeah, of course you got to have exposure to one or both of these guys probably. But in a single entry cash game, dude, to your point, like if Hawes wins, it's going to be all over, right? So if you decide to take Daukaus and Hawes puts him out in the first minute, which could happen, your lineup is jammed up right out of the gates. By the same token, if you take Hawes, I mean, I guess Hawes has the better
Hawes is a
upside.
safer bet because he's not going to get stopped inside of a minute or 2 minutes, no matter what.
He'll lose in the later
rounds.
rounds.
Yeah,
he'll at least get 30 plus points in a loss, even if he gets smoked in the third round. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you need to have either of them, and if you're doing a cash game or a single entry tournament, but for sure.
And you say he's not going to get stopped inside 2 minutes. I can see him shooting across and getting caught very easily inside.
No
2
way.
minutes.
He's
While
not
they're
Kyle Daukaus.
Dude,
no,
fresh.
I can see Hawes shooting across, getting caught in a guillotine or a weird scramble.
Oh yeah. I mean that
anything's possible, but I do not see a fresh Phil Hawes getting caught in a submission. No way.
Daukaus is good, man. Good.
Well, this is.
He should be an undefeated fighter. I mean, technically, short notice. Be undefeated.
It is an interesting fight and a tricky fight. To your point, Jacob, you said, and logic agrees with you that Phil Hawes will come out, look amazing, get tired, and then lose. I'm just saying that at this point in his career, with the success he's had, I'm hoping that he's not going to make those mistakes, because the only mistake would be when you're exhausted, take Chris Daukaus down. That's the only mistake. It's not, oh, my hands weren't up, Chris Daukaus knocked me out. That's not going to happen. It's not, oh, I wasn't ready, Chris Daukaus took me down. That's not going to happen. The only mistake Phil Hawes can make if he gets exhausted is take a sloppy shot, take his time, not take it serious, and then get submitted. So I'm hoping his fight IQ with his career is continuing to work its way up, and he's not going to make that mistake. I'm tired. Let me take a desperate shot. So I'm going to Phil Hawes there, but and that's why I'm not touching
Jacob.
And I'll tell you what, the rest of
all my fight losses and just use his logic for all. I'd be 15-1. There's one you're gonna have to get rid of.
And let me just reassure the people. More people are on my side than your guys' side because the odds are in favor of Daukaus. So
well, that's how we're gonna play this.
You even listen to what I just said. I was actually giving him a compliment.
Dan was basically saying, if Jacob was my hype man, the only fight I might have maybe lost was against the WWE champion of the world.
Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle.
Before you go, I just want to give a sincere thank you to all of our members and supporters. I just filmed a video like 2 hours ago, thanking all of you and walking through all the perks that you get for being a member, and new members signed up. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to thank you again and walk through those benefits very quickly. So specific thanks to Ansi Music, Chris Tarano, David Ramon, Chris Chori, Dunchichi, Jesse Correra, Lapuzza, Joe Todoro.
The live chat crew, the live stream.
Joe Todoro, Logan Garrick, X Sweet Spot X, Aaron Reynolds, Brent Hinson, Jill Loads, Jordan Burgard.
That's Big Don, baby.
Jacob's
Big
buddy.
Don.
Big Don.
And Juan Valdez. Sincere thank you to all of you guys. We appreciate it. Anybody out there who is not a member, click the join button below. It supports us. And in return, we'll hook you up with a Dan Kramer UFC Tops card, as long as those last. And our members who compete in our...
Flying like hotcakes.
And they're flying off the shelves. Nobody bought these things for 10 years, and now all of a sudden we're buying them up, giving them out to you. People have no idea what's
They're like
happening.
Pokemon cards.
The value is skyrocketing.
They're very popular all of a sudden again.
Because we're buying them all up. But any of our members who compete in our free DraftKings contest, you will win $30 if you win. If you are not a member, you can still win, but you will win $15. All right. Members get 30. Everybody else gets 15. Thank you so much. We're continuing to roll out new benefits. Members, when you're commenting on these videos, check out the emojis. You now have special emojis that only you can use. Thank you very much. It is genuinely appreciated. Thank you.